Hey everyone, my name's Eddie. I'm a remote IT tech project manager for the last 8 years, and you can take a look at my LinkedIn profile here. And for many of my roles, I've actually worked remotely. So I've had the opportunity to work remotely from Mexico, from Colombia, from Peru, from Buenos Aires, Argentina. And I've even made $300,000 in a single year working as a project manager, working multiple projects simultaneously. But enough about me. This is actually about you guys. This is actually going to be my first official video on YouTube, and I'm going to be making a lot more videos around how to get started and be successful in a career in project management and eventually making six figures or more as a project manager. In this first video, I'm going to break down for you step by step what you can do to start preparing yourself for your first role in project management, assuming that you have no experience. And I'm going to share with you a sample resume at the end that has worked for me and many others for breaking into their first role in project management as a project coordinator. I'm going to walk you through a step-by-step list of things that you can do to increase your chances of becoming a project manager and breaking into project management. And some of these steps will have multiple tiers in them. And the idea is that the more tiers you do, the more you'll increase your chances of becoming successful in a career in project management. The first step in starting a career in project management is actually not what you'd think. Many people will immediately jump to taking courses on project management from sites like Coursera and think that learning the formal and technical side of project management is what's going to get them the job. Now, of course, you'll need to learn about these things as well, and we're going to talk about these in step 3, but the first step, especially if you're looking for long-term success in a career in project management, the first step is actually to start developing your mind to start thinking and acting like a project manager. See, successful project managers, those who are on the top of their field, are all great leaders. They take accountability, they set both personal and professional goals for themselves, they are results oriented, they have impeccable solution oriented attitude, and it is these traits that make them successful project managers. So, your first step in building a successful career in project management is to start developing yourself into a leader. Start focusing on personal development, start building the type of personality that will attract project manager roles and demonstrate to hiring managers that you are someone who has high standards of excellence and that you bring a positive attitude despite all the challenges that you may face on a project. You are someone who's resilient, someone who takes ownership, and someone who can solve problems. The personal development coach that has had the biggest impact on my life is Earl Nightingale. So tier 1 is to listen to an audiobook by Earl Nightingale called The Essence of Success. This audiobook is phenomenal. It has transformed my life, and I often go back and listen to it over and over again. So I recommend you start listening to Earl Nightingale, start listening to the audiobook called The Essence of Success, and you'll find it on audible.com. Tier number 2 is to start listening to people like Brian Tracy, like Jim Rohn, like Les Brown, and you can find hundreds of their videos for free on YouTube and subscribe to their channel. So every time you open up YouTube, you see their videos, and over time, their messages will start rubbing off on you, and you'll start noticing your development, your growth, and you're going to start becoming the more complete version of yourself that's going to attract these project manager roles. One other thing I'd like to add is that self-development and growth is going to be a lifelong thing for you. It's not something that you just watch 1 or 2 videos and you're ready to become a project manager. You'll need to constantly feed your mind with these kinds of ideas, these kinds of information to really be successful in a long-term career in project management. Now, once you've started to develop your mindset, you can move to step 2, which is developing the soft skills that are needed to be successful in project management. And there are actually 8 core soft skills that I recommend all my students that they pick up in order to become effective project managers. And if you learn these and master these, you can become a very successful project manager even if you have no idea how to formally manage a project in a corporate setting. That's how powerful these 8 core skills are. And these skills alone will help you deliver results successfully as a project manager even if you don't have the technical knowledge to manage a project. Now, the first skill that you need to master, it's going to sound obvious, it's communication skills. As a project manager, 90% of your job is communication, both verbal and written communication. And you need to be a master of communicating your message clearly so that it drives the desired outcome that you're looking for on your project. Now, as I mentioned, all of these skills, I'm going to be dropping links to the books and resources that I've used in the past to help me develop these skills in these areas. So feel free to look at the description below to access those resources and see what I use to help develop my skills in communication and all the other skills that I'm going to share with you here today. The second skill that you need to master in order to become a successful, effective project manager is the skill of leadership. Leadership is a vast topic with lots of books written on it, talking about how to become a leader in different industries. But if I were to sum up what leadership is in one sentence or one word, leadership is all about influence. Leadership is about getting results through people. In other words, getting people on your team to do the work required to get the project delivered, even though you don't have any official authority over them. So make sure that you master leadership and you start developing yourself into a leader. The third skill that's required for you to become a successful project manager is time management. As a project manager, you'll be juggling multiple projects or initiatives at the same time. You need to be able to manage your time well so that you can make sure nothing gets left behind. And remember, as a project manager, you'll be required to manage the project timeline. And if you can't manage your own time, how is anybody going to trust you to manage the timeline of a project? The fourth skill you need to pick up is organizational skills, especially digital organizational skills. See, as a project manager, you're going to be managing purchase orders, tracking invoices, managing the budget, reviewing quotes and contracts, and you need to make sure all of this information is properly organized on your computer so you can access it whenever you need it, and so that it doesn't become an impediment to your project. So it's very important that you start building the skill of organizing your documents, your folders, your folder structure now, so that when you're in a project manager role, you'll be able to successfully manage and track everything without getting overwhelmed. The fifth skill that you need to learn is presentation skills. You need to be comfortable presenting to both a small and a large audience and to people in different levels of the organization. Sometimes you'll be presenting to directors, sometimes you'll be presenting to senior managers, and even to executive leadership, depending on the size and scale and importance of the project that you're working on. So start practicing presenting in front of the mirror, or any other opportunity you get to speak in public. Take that opportunity and really leverage it, and take that opportunity and start building this skill now, which will serve you later on when you're giving presentations as a project manager. That's exactly what I did early on. Is any opportunity I got to speak at a wedding, any opportunity I got to speak in a public setting, I took it, and I was able to learn from my own experiences and build that confidence, so that now when I'm giving presentations in a corporate setting, I'm much more comfortable, I'm much more relaxed, because I've done this many times before. So with practice, you're going to get better, and if you start now, you'll be ready when you get your first role as a project manager. The sixth skill that you need to be successful in a role as a project manager, or to become a project manager, is the skill of relationship building. Now, if you're coming from a sales or customer service background, you might already have an edge here because you already know how to build rapport and get close to the people that you're working with. And in project management, you'll need to build these relationships with different teams and departments, because you never know when you're going to need help on something. And if you've done the work of building these relationships early on in your project, or in your role as a project manager for the company you're working with, you'll be in a much better position to ask for help, to ask for a favor on your project. And many times you'll notice that by asking for that favor is actually what keeps the project on track. And so you'll need to build these key relationships on your project, in your company that you're working with, to be successful delivering your projects. The seventh skill that's very important for you to learn is to actually learn how to read people. This is called emotional intelligence, the art of reading people. To know if what the person is telling you is the truth, or if the person is hiding something. You need to be able to pick up on the subtle changes in the voice of the person you're talking to, their tone, their facial expressions. And the reason why this is so important for you as a PM is oftentimes you'll be working on projects where you're relying on information from other experts, from developers, from engineers, and you need to be able to discern if what these people are telling you is true. You need to be able to see if, like, the developer, if he's telling you it's going to take 4 weeks to fix a bug or an issue in the application that you're working on, and you have no other data to go off of, you need to be able to read between the lines, read the person, and ask the right questions, and make sure what they're telling you is accurate. And you can do that when you have high emotional intelligence, when you're able to pick up on other people's emotions, the way other people are talking to you, the way they're fidgeting, the way they're moving their arms, and all those signs you can start reading and picking up, and being able to determine if what they're telling you is true or not. The eighth skill that we need to learn is creative problem solving. See, as a project manager, although you're not required to solve technical problems, you are required to solve problems on the project overall, like missed deliveries or from a vendor, or higher than expected quotes on equipment that you were going to purchase for your project. You need to be creative and think of ways that you can solve these issues and solve these problems without losing track of the project, and without having to have the project go over budget, or go over scope, or go over timeline. So those are the 8 core skills that I recommend that you focus on and start developing now to start preparing yourself for a career in project management. And if you were to break this down into tiers and to increase your chances of becoming a project manager, tier 1, you could start listening to the audiobooks on these topics. So audiobooks on communication, on relationship building, on emotional intelligence, on creative problem solving. You can start listening to all of these audiobooks to start learning about this topic and how to implement it in your life. Tier number 2, if you really want to take the extra step and get into a project manager role or be set up for project manager roles faster, you can start picking up books on these topics and reading them because reading is actually active learning. Listening is just passive. Listening typically you're just doing it in the background, just like you might be doing with this video. You might just be listening to it in the background. But books, you're reading physically. You're actually putting in effort to learn about this topic, and it's going to stick with you more. And tier number 3 would be, well, you've learned about it, now actually apply it to your daily life. So apply the communication techniques that you're learning, apply the organizational techniques that you're learning. Right now you can start practicing and organizing your folders on your computer and start labeling them, start organizing them, and having a structure there. And then you'll notice that once you start implementing that and improving on that later when you're actually working as a project coordinator or a project manager, you'll start implementing these same organizational techniques in your work. Great. Now we're ready to move into step number 3 of our ultimate guide of breaking into project management with no experience. So if you've done step 1 and 2 correctly and you've started to implement the mindset and skills into your daily life, we can finally start actually learning about formal project management and how to manage a project in a corporate setting. What documents you need to create, what you need to do in each phase of the project lifecycle. These are the things that we want to start learning now in step 3. So if you're just starting out and you have no knowledge of project management, I recommend doing a free Google project management course on Coursera just to give you a general understanding of what project management is and the different phases of the project lifecycle. This will be great for really building that key vocabulary and key concepts that will help you to start talking like a project manager so you can effectively communicate that you know how to do the job when you're talking to recruiters and you're talking to hiring managers. So tier 1 in step 3 is that you complete any introductory level course on project management. So that could be the Google Project Management Professionals course that I recommend that you do via Coursera or any other introductory course that you find online. And then tier number 2 here would be to pick up a couple of books on project management. And there's 2 books I recommend. One book is called Brilliant Project Management, What the Best Project Managers Know, Say, and Do by Stephen Barker and Rob Cole. And there's a second book that I recommend called Project Management, second edition by Gary Hirkins. So those are 2 books. I'm going to leave the link down in the description below if you want to take a look. But those are the 2 books that I recommend to help get a good understanding of what project management is and what you would be required to do in a corporate setting. Now, step number 4, I know many of you are interested in becoming or getting into IT and tech or managing IT and tech related projects. So this step applies to those who really want to work in IT or tech, which, by the way, is where some of the highest paid project managers are. So I strongly recommend you consider learning and picking up IT tech skills to be able to work on IT tech projects. So assuming that you have no background in IT or tech, I recommend taking a free course from Harvard called CS50, which gives you a beautiful overview of core concepts in IT and computer science. It touches on database, on arrays, on programming. And this is actually the same course that I took early on in my career when I was getting started because I didn't have a background in IT. And so it really prepared me and gave me the sufficient knowledge that I needed to be able to at least have conversations with the technical team and ask questions and keep the project moving forward. So I definitely recommend this course. It's amazing, it's free, and it's taught in such a way that you don't get bored, that you interact with the material. It's very interactive. And so I recommend you take this course by Harvard professor. I think his name is TJ Milan, if I might be mistaken there. But the course is called CS50, and I'll leave a link down below. The other thing I strongly recommend when you're trying to build the IT and tech skills to be able to manage IT and tech projects is that you actually create your own website using WordPress. Now I know we live in an age of AI now where you can have a website built for you in a matter of seconds. But the reason I'm telling you to build the website is not to build a website, but for everything that you'll learn when you're building the website. You'll learn about hosting and domains and name servers and databases and backups and security, and you're going to learn so much more. And the best part is when you're done creating a website, you'll have something that you can show on your resume as if it was a real project that you actually managed. And in fact, this is exactly what I did 10 years ago. I built a website It kind of happened for me accidentally. I was creating websites on WordPress because it was free and because I wanted to create a side hustle and make money online. And later, when I was actually applying for roles in project management or roles as a project coordinator, I was actually able to show my experience of, hey, I built this website and this is what I did, this is how long it took to actually get my first job. And I was able to talk about it during my interview. So this, the 3-month project or 4 or 5 month project that you can do building a website on your own by learning, how to set up a website on WordPress. You'll learn about databases and servers and all these different things. It's going to be so invaluable for you, and it's going to stick with you for the rest of your life. So I would strongly recommend you invest like 4 months, 3 months, whatever it takes to build that first website from scratch, and you'll have experience in IT that is going to be invaluable. That's exactly what I did. This is exactly what's got me here to where I am today, managing large-scale multi-million-dollar projects and getting paid well over 6 figures to do these projects, many of them remotely from many different countries. And so this is exactly what I'm recommending to you. This is not something that I didn't do myself. This is something that I did and has gotten me success. And many others that I've recommended that have followed the same path have gotten the same success as well, by building their own website, by building their own mini project, and then later leveraging that on their resume. Now, step 5 in this approach to breaking into project management, now that we've worked on our mindset, we've built the core skills, we've learned about project management, we've got a good understanding of IT and tech now under our belt, a general understanding. You don't need to be a technical expert when you're coming into project management, but you've got general knowledge of IT and tech now. You maybe built your own project, and now it's time in step 5 to build out a banger resume and a banger LinkedIn profile and make sure it's optimized for attracting roles in project management. At the end of this video, I'm actually going to show you a resume template that has worked for me and many others, and you'll find a copy of it as well in the description. And it's going to be a resume, assuming that you have no other experience, assuming that the only experience you have is worked at Walmart and then your own personal projects. And so I'm going to walk you through that and show you how you can set up your resume. But in this step 5 here, setting up your resume and setting up your LinkedIn profile is so important because, you are the product. You may be the best project manager or best project coordinator out there in the world, but if no one knows that you exist, you're not going to get hired. So you need to make sure that you're creating a resume that is going to get calls, that's going to get interviews, and a LinkedIn profile that is professional, that shows who you are, that you're someone serious about getting into project management, that you're committed, that you're dedicated, that you're ambitious, that you're willing to learn, you're coachable. The first tier in step 5 in making sure that you can get a job in project management is, well, number 1, you update your resume. Number 2, the second level here is, well, you update your LinkedIn profile. And number 3, if you're really serious, you really want to get a job in project management, you should be reaching out privately to individuals on LinkedIn and asking for mentorship, asking for guidance and support. And actually, you'll find some links down below. You'll find some scripts to links that I've used before, that my students have used to actually reach out to people on LinkedIn and being able to get responses back so that they can meet up for coffee or maybe connect in some way that might lead to a job later on. Now, step 6 is all about applying and networking. So in step 5, you built your resume, you built in your LinkedIn profile, and I also suggest that you can start reaching out to some folks directly on LinkedIn to start doing a little bit of networking. But now step 6 is really about going hardcore and applying and networking. So you've got your resume, you got your LinkedIn profile, and you've started to actively apply for roles that interest you. And I just want to mention, don't be afraid to apply for roles that are a few levels above your pay grade. You'll find that oftentimes, even though you're not meeting every single qualification on the job post, you may still be considered for the job. And for you, the objective should be to get an interview. Because once you have the interview, your resume and your LinkedIn profile is not going to matter as much. Now it's just about how well you present yourself and whether you are a person that the interviewer would like to work with, or if the person interviewing you likes you or not. And like I mentioned before, your resume and your LinkedIn profile will matter less once you're actually in the interview. And that's why the first 2 steps of like building your mindset, building the core skills are going to be so important to you, because those are going to translate directly in the interview. When you're speaking to the interviewer, when you're speaking to the recruiter, the hiring manager, they're going to notice like, well, how does this guy think? How does he communicate? How does he present himself? And those are all the self-development things that you need to do to be able to present yourself effectively. And the core skills that I talked about, those 8 skills, those are all going to come off in the interview. In the interview, it's not going to matter as much about your resume, about your LinkedIn profile, and about the technical side of project management. Of course, that's going to matter maybe later on for more senior roles, but initially, the main thing that the interviewer is going to be looking for are those soft skills, those traits. Are you someone presentable? Are you someone that they're going to like working with? Are you someone that you're going to be easy to get along with? Are you someone who's goal oriented, solution oriented, or are you a complainer? So your job again is just to get the interview and then present yourself in the interview in a professional manner, and then to eventually get the job. Now, step number 7. So step number 5, you updated your resume. Step number 6, you started to apply. Now, step number 7, you want to make sure you prepare for the interview so that you can actually successfully deliver on the interview and land the role. So interviewing the project management, as I mentioned a little bit on the earlier step, are 90% behavioral and situational. What would you do if XYZ happened on the project? Or tell me about a time when you dealt with a problem and how did you handle it? Ideally, you want to prepare answers for these questions or stories for these questions in advance so you can confidently weave them in to your answers. And below this video, I'm actually also going to link to you a PDF with the most common questions in project management interviews, both for project coordinators and for project managers, so you can study those and then create your own stories and answers around them. All right, so we've got into this last section of this video here where actually I'm going to walk you through a sample resume from scratch so you can see how you can approach your own resume when you're building out your resume for breaking into project management. All right, so here I've got an entry-level resume for breaking into project management. It's very simple, very straightforward. You want to make sure that your resume is ATS friendly, meaning application tracking system friendly, so that when you put it through and apply online, that all the keywords and everything is being picked up quickly and correctly. And also you want to make sure that it's readable by a human so that when a real person is looking at it, that they can easily glance through and take a look at the key sections very quickly. When you're starting out, maybe you want to start off with an intro for yourself, something like this, which is just a small description about kind of who you are. You're an ambitious, self-driven project coordinator with a hands-on experience managing the full life cycle of a real-world website launch. You have the proven ability to plan, track, and deliver projects independently while coordinating with external vendors, and you have strong communication skills, strong organizational problem-solving skills, and you're ready to bring initiative and structure and reliability to your IT or operations team on the projects that they're working on. You might want to list a couple of certifications if you have any. Again, this is not mandatory, but if you finish a course from Coursera and you get a certificate, hey, feel free to put it on here. If you you can get a Lean Six Sigma green belt or yellow belt certificate online and typically for free or for very cheap. And so maybe if you want to kind of beef up your resume with a couple of certificates, feel free to do that as well. Again, this is not required, not mandatory. I didn't have any certificates when I got into my first role as a project coordinator. But again, these are just nice to haves that might increase your chances of getting a role in project management. And so in the experience section of the resume, like I mentioned earlier, in the 7 steps that I outlined for breaking into project management, you should ideally create your own personal project that you can later put on your resume and speak to during the interviews. That's exactly what I did. I recommend building a website, which is, again, exactly what I did, but you can do your own project, your own construction project at home, your own interior design project, whatever project that interests you, you can create that and then speak to it here on the resume. And it's the bullets here that are really going to help you stand out. And so for this fictional e-commerce website launch project, I might write things like, I took full ownership of a project to build and launch a niche e-commerce store for home fitness products, treating it as a formal IT project to gain hands-on experience in planning, execution, and delivery. I defined project goals, business needs, and user requirements to ensure that the website aligned with e-commerce best practices. I created a structured project management plan using MS Project, or you can say Excel if you use Excel, whatever you used. You state that here, breaking down into the different phases like requirements, design, development, testing, and launching. And then also you assigned estimated durations for all the tasks that you had to do, the deadlines and dependencies. And that you also built a detailed task tracker in Excel to monitor progress and flag risks or delays, which would simulate a real-world project management office environment. You can say you also collaborated with 2 external freelancers, a graphic designer, copywriter. Maybe you were on your website, maybe you hired someone to design the logo, maybe you hired someone to write the headline. And so you can say, hey, you collaborated with different external vendors, you set expectations, you set timelines, you reviewed their deliverables for quality and alignment with your project, and then you also track the timeline, making sure there was no slippage. You identified root causes, or if there were any issues, you identified them, and you worked on getting those resolved, and you implemented a contingency plan that made sure that the project was completed on schedule. You can also write that you conducted a post-launch review and that you compiled a mock project closure document including lessons learned and metrics and kind of what we would do next time if you were to launch this project again. So this is a high level overview of a sample resume that you can build to break into an entry level role in project management. And like, I really wanted to make it really transparent here. If the only experience you have is working at McDonald's and you have no other experience, then you need to create your own personal project to really be able to put that on your resume. And then you also have something to show for it. You'll also be able to say, hey, you can go to my website, xyz.com, and that's something tangible that you now have. And who knows, maybe that side project ends up becoming, your full-time job. Who knows? But if it doesn't, if it's just an idea and you bring it to life, with a website, you can now show it and talk about it in your resume. And that's exactly what I did. Many other folks have done the same. And again, if you're trying to get into IT and tech, building a website is like a best place to start because you're going to learn so much so fast. And the knowledge that I gained from building my own websites early on is what I use in my IT tech projects today to help manage them successfully, to help work with developers and engineers, and to be able to call them out on their bullshit when they're telling me that, hey, this is going to take XYZ time period or that it's not possible. I now have insider knowledge because I've done backups on databases, I've created a website, and I know how these things work, and so I can at least have a knowledgeable conversation about it with the team when I'm working with them. So that's it for how to break into your first role in project management. So I hope this has been valuable for you. I hope you guys follow through with these steps, and I really hope you guys find a job in project management because it is really a career where there's a lot of opportunities, a lot of growth. There's a lot of opportunity to work remotely, and you're autonomous. Like I work remotely as a project manager. There's no one watching me. I just know I need to get things done. I do them, and there's no. Of course, I have a boss, a manager, but it's not like a typical role where like your boss is micromanaging you. So it's really a good role to get into. Pays really well. There's a lot of opportunity in it, and every day is different. So hopefully these 7 steps will help you, and the resources below that I've given you will help you get into your first role in project management. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. I'm just getting started in my YouTube journey, and I think in the next 6 months this channel is going to blow up, and I want you guys to be part of that journey. So like and subscribe, and I hope to see you on the next video.